Okay, so as soon as Mr. Cobb, Mr. Cohen, if you have a chance.
We're live.
Okay, so we'll just resume as Mr. Cobb and Cohen are working their way up to the dais. So we're going to ask just the public to let us talk. So if you all see, we need to approve the January meeting schedule. So, and we'll also inform the new incoming council people about it as well. But we already have approved the reorg meeting for January 3rd, 2023. That was in last year's opening meeting. And then we have a workshop meeting January 10th and a regular meeting January 24th. So we'll have this as a resolution at the next meeting.
Yes, if everyone is okay with the 2 dates for January.
Okay, so you'll, if you don't let Yancy know ahead of time, and also the incoming council people can let Yancy know. Okay, Bob, the shared services agreement with Paramus.
All right, thank you, Council President. This is a renewal for repair to use the Borough of Paramus's repair shop. They have done an excellent job in the past on repairing vehicles. They have emergency vehicle technicians on site. At times, they run 3 shifts, but they repair police cars, regular municipal vehicles, as well as other types of equipment. So this is recommended. This would be our second shared services agreement for equipment. We have one with the County of Bergen as well.
Okay. So that'll be a resolution for the next meeting?
Yes, it will.
Okay.
Well, we don't comment on that?
Councilman Cobb has a question.
Do you want to comment now about it? Yeah.
On page 3 of this document that you have given us, under Article 3, Item B,
I don't see it. Do you have a copy handy?
you're talking about the shared service agreement, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Page 3. Page 3, Article 3.
Yes.
Article 2 or 3?
3. Article 3. Councilman, I'm looking at page 3, Article 3, term and termination of contract.
Right.
Yes.
So what it says, that this agreement shall automatically be renewed. We should vote on this annually with them. We shouldn't automatically renew it. Just like we do everything else, we should do it, and we should evaluate the services that are being rendered.
Okay, this gives the city the option to use them. We have mechanics. If we can't fix something on site, we have the option of going there or going to the county to have our equipment fixed. So far, the service, when it has been needed, has been very good.
Well, we wouldn't know that if somebody didn't tell us.
Well, okay, I am reporting back based on firsthand experience, but in other municipalities, but also after talking with our Director of Public Works.
That's what you have. Yes, Councilman.
Yes.
So in that same article, item B
That's what I'm talking about.
has the automatic renewal, but it can be terminated with 30 days notice. So the option would be to have a report, 90 days out, so that conversation can be had and a reporting could be, and whatever metrics are needed can be discussed, so that prior to that 30-day mark, a termination could be issued if needed. So there is a way out.
I understand that, but they've been using this service before that, and we still haven't gotten anything back in the past. So I'm just saying, hey, maybe that you know what? If you got a hard stop, maybe you get what you need to get from them. Or if they know that, hey, we need to follow up and get an evaluation on the services being rendered, then I'm just putting in
Shared services agreement.
the brakes to make sure that we get that.
Okay. If, what we can do is we can diary it for a report back to the city council in September of 2023 on this, so that the council would have some indication. But it's important that the city has other options, particularly for our emergency services equipment. So whether it's the fire trucks or something for the ambulance corps, because Paramus has emergency vehicle technicians on staff, so they can fix pumps, they can fix other things that if we didn't have the option of going there, we might have to send our trucks down to South Jersey, someplace south of Trenton, because that's where most of the fire department apparatus repair shops are. So this gives us the option of sending it someplace in Bergen County and having it back in service in a much quicker period of time.
All right, and can you talk about the contracts and bids for HVAC and cleaning services?
Certainly, the contracts for the cleaning services are expiring at the end of the year, so we've gone out to bid for the cleaning service, and the bids are due back soon. And this is a heads up to the council that that we will be requesting some action. We will when the bids are open, they will be evaluated, and there will be a recommendation coming to the city council for cleaning of our buildings. The bids are due this Thursday, which would be December 8th. And then we're out to bid for HVAC services. We have contract repair needs and service needs on a seasonal basis for HVAC equipment here in the municipal court building, the police department, the firehouse, the rec building, city hall. And so this is to make sure that we have a company and firm prices for the services that the city needs. Everything from changing the filters on a quarterly basis to responding to the needs in the firehouse. And some part of the bid specification requires service within 2 hours on a 24-hour cycle. So if something happens at midnight and it's critical, we would have a response within 2 hours.
All right. And the budget transfers?
This comes at the end of the year. So our next meeting is the 20th, and there will be expenses where that will require budget transfers. So this is just signaling to the city council that that'll be on the agenda. There is usually a budget transfer the last calendar meeting of the year, and that's why it's on here, so that they will know about that. And once we know what the final details are, we will be able to have a report for the council.
And the sewer charges, just to finish up?
Sewer charges, there's...
Before you
Okay,
do
yeah.
that item, on the budget transfers, we just did budget transfers. Are there projections for significant transfers at this point?
Not really significant transfers. What we're looking to do is, we have, I would call it, we have last minute items. So we're going to have some of our contractors submitting bills at the last minute, and we may not have funds available in the proper accounts to cover that. So that's what a lot of that would be. And then we're also looking at we have some costs where we will be getting reimbursements after after January 1st, so we may have to cover some expenses knowing that we're going to be getting reimbursement in January of 2023. And then there was a question about sewer charges?
Yeah, I just see that on the resolution.
Yeah, the sewer charges, there's 4 or 5 properties that had been off the tax rolls. They were exempt, and now they're back on the tax rolls. So when our CFO was doing an analysis with our collector, they noticed that there were some outstanding bills from several years ago when these properties were exempt. So this is just to write off those bills from when the properties were exempt and nothing was collected from them.
Oh, question.
Yeah, please.
What properties returned to the tax roll?
Yeah.
I don't have the list in front of me. Michael,
Mr.
do you know?
Bailey. Mr. Bailey probably.
Well, Mr. Bailey.
If I could, I don't know the answer to that question, Councilman Hamer, but there are exempt properties. Properties can be exempt from property tax, but that doesn't necessarily exempt them from sewer charges.
Yeah, and that's what these are, the sewer
So
charges.
I don't know that they were returned to the tax roll, but they were charged for their sewer use. I don't know who they are.
There's 4 block and lots, and between 2013 and 2015, they went from non-taxable to taxable. So these go back all the way, like 8 years, 7, 8 years. I have the blocks and lot if you want. I could send them out.
Would you send me the addresses when you get a chance?
Yes, no problem.
Tomorrow or something like that? Thank you.
Okay, so those resolutions will be on for the December 20th meeting, the final meeting of the year. So Bob, who do we have to speak about cannabis?
Council President, there's a draft ordinance in the package, in the packet for the council. This is put in there so that the council can have the opportunity to review it and provide any comment if they want
Okay.
it before the end of the year. It's going to go back to the city council in 2023, so that the incoming council will be able to have the opportunity to comment on it as well. And then it'll go to the planning board for their review and come back to the city council. So this is something that had been.
Yeah, so just to, and I know we have some people interested in cannabis who are here tonight. So, and Mr. Bailey and Mr. Hoffman, correct me if I'm wrong here. And also the packet was sent with this draft ordinance to the incoming council people?
No, but now that it's being discussed, we will send it
Okay,
to them
all right,
tomorrow.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so this is an ordinance it's in draft format right now, but this is one that's going to be introduced in 2023. After the council adopts, if it adopts the ordinance regarding the different uses of cannabis in town, Bill, then it has to go to the planning board?
So this is the initial draft that was prepared by the planner hired by the city
Yeah.
a month or two ago. You can't straddle a year with ordinances. In other words, you can't introduce something in December of '22 and adopt in January of '23. But this was the planner put this together to get it circulating for discussion and comment first. Procedurally, then, once it gets to a point where everyone seems to be okay with it, it gets introduced. Then under the municipal land use law, it's referred to the planning board where they have 35 days to do what's called a consistency review. Then it comes back to the governing body for a public hearing and an actual vote on whether to adopt it or not.
Yeah, so just if you, today is, December 6th, so 35 days from now would bring us into January, which would be a new council and a new planning board. So we can't adopt a ordinance now. So I wanted to put this out here so we can get comment and input from this council about what the cannabis ordinance should be, and also more importantly, or as importantly, the incoming council, because they're going to be the ones that either adopt it or do not adopt the ordinance. So please read through it. So some of the questions are going to be what levels of sale and production we want. They're levels 1 through 6. 6 is delivery, so technically we already have that in Englewood. An out-of-city cannabis retailer can deliver in Englewood. That's by state law, so there's nothing for us to approve or not approve with regard to level 6 cannabis in town. But for 1 through 5, from cultivation to retail sales, we're going to need input as to which parts of town we're going to allow it. So, for example, an obvious thing, would we want it just along Route 4 shop, or where would we want cultivation? What zones would we want in it? What part of town? So those are the questions that I'd like this council to ruminate on, and for the incoming council members to think about as well, so we can put an ordinance together in 2023, and obviously it'll either get thumbs up or thumbs down from the council at that time. And then it goes to the planning board, which has 5 weeks, what I'm hearing, to do a consistency review, and then comes back to the council. So there's a whole process to be followed here. So please reach out, and the prior meeting of the Cannabis Committee is online, their presentation, and also any questions you have for the city planner. And Bob, maybe we'll have the planner come, I guess, in January to pun intended, hash out the ordinance for that. Any comment from the council tonight with regard to this draft ordinance?
One, where did it come from? Is this just a cut and paste of the generic ordinance, or where did this originate? I know it came from the planner, but they don't know anything about Englewood and haven't been part of any of the discussion that we've had.
Well, they did put some examples of zones in there. So I completely agree, Councilman, that this is a bit boilerplate, but the filling in the blanks is going to be the important part from the council. So, for example, Category 5, retail, what zones would we want in it, what part of town would we want it in, and that's going to be something that we have total control over. So they did not put specific landmarks in there. They have some ideas, and they did put some zones, but that's, to me, those are just placeholders for an eventual ordinance to be adopted with the input of the council.
Yeah, Council President, some of the questions that they did have is, does the city want to have retail stores, and if so, where? And does putting them along Route 4 where the gas stations are, is that something, or do they want them in other locations? And then they had questions they wanted to make sure they knew, should they be within 1,000 feet of Route 4, and what are some of the key areas where they should not be? So those were some of the questions that they were looking for input into.
I found it very confusing. I'm just telling you.
And then there was also questions about the host agreements, and then code enforcement that's related to it, and then there's drug-free youth programs that also require consideration and input from the city council.
So, I agree that this is a very confusing process, and, we're not alone in thinking that. At the League of Municipalities, there were multiple sessions with regard to cannabis, and, a lot of explanation and a lot of questions from all over the state about how to adopt it. And, there are literally hundreds of municipalities trying to figure out the details of this. And there's a lot of details that have to be ironed out, and community developer agreements that need to be decided on as well. So there's a lot of work on this. It's not going to be a simple, we will have retail, period. It's a complicated process. But I wanted to get the ball rolling on this, knowing that the next council will be the ones to really decide on these issues. But I want to get the draft ordinance out there so people can read and ask the questions, and we can get it explained to us. But this is, I've been finding it very, very challenging to understand as well. Okay, so that's work for the future. So now we'll move on to bills and claims, which is Resolution 320. Do I have a motion to approve bills and claims?
So moved.
I seconded. Any questions on bills and claims, if Mr. Kaufman's still here?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm just, Ruderman Services, I thought we had settled most of the major contracts, labor contracts. I was just curious what that covered, that $33,000.
It covers that, but it also covers some other
litigation.
personnel activity.
Question
Yeah, please.
on page 1 of 1, Mr. Kaufman. The consulting services for New Jersey Community Solutions, would you just talk me through what that is?
Yes, that's Matt Watkins.
Okay.
That's his services that he did for the city.
Part of that was the compensation review that was sent to the
Is
city.
that something ongoing or something that was rendered?
No, that's finished.
That had to do with the compensations study that was sent to the governing body at the end of October.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just
Okay.
a comment, not a question. I see on here there's a pass-through amount for page 6. The largest item on the bills and claims list for $1,000,006, and it's for hotel stay reimbursement. Is that just pass-through from FEMA
Yes.
to the housing authority?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, roll call, please.
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Cohen?
Yep.
Councilman Hamer?
Vote yes.
Councilwoman Marin?
Yes.
Council President Rosenzweig?
Yes, so that passes. Communications, Mayor, please.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is an executive session, so some of my comments may be dated. They were for the formal session before. Again, I would like to acknowledge the presence of our former mayor that joined us, Pastor Givens, who stepped out for a moment, council members, and of course the residents that came here today and watching this on YouTube. We have lost a giant in Frank Luciana, Dr. Cook, who served our city so gallantly and left so quickly, and Reverend Butts from the Abyssinian Church in the city. We lost indeed giants, and their legacies will continue with God's help in our community. I urge the community to reach out to their physicians and to look at our health department that has a COVID-19 bivalent booster clinics. The next one will be December 10 from 12 till 5. They're publicized. Thank you to Nurse Murdoch and our team at the health department. Thank you again to the FBI, the NYPD for averting a threat to the synagogues and to the Jewish community in the region, and to Catherine at City Hall, our health department, and others. When we went to the League of Municipalities, we went and we looked deeply in the mayor's wellness campaign, and we're going to set up a series of activities to keep our community healthy and well. In the last weeks, we celebrated the beginning of Dr. Bernard Bell Way. I had a chance to posthumously give him a key to the city, and we honor this talent and great man by having our residents memorialize his contributions both to music and to the spirit and soul. We had a wonderful mural reveal with women's suffrage painted on the side of the Women's Rights Information Center, where we want to thank the Englewood Community Foundation and all the wonderful groups that were there. This is an effort that came out of love, out of history. I worked very hard in the last years to get a mural ordinance. We see communities throughout the United States having comments and experiences through the art, and it's important that we join that, and this was a very apropos statement. I have been continuing through the year in my schools and tours. The Elizabeth Morris School just enjoyed a wonderful honor from Apple, where about 36 different countries were honored simultaneously at the same time. Tomorrow I'm going to the French school in our city, the Ability School, and I continue with the public schools. I'm making my nominations and appointments. I sent some of those communications to the city clerk already. I've reappointed, or renominated, I should say, all of the appointments that are serving in the Board of Adjustment, looking at the Planning Board, the Library, and the other boards, including the Environmental Commission. If there's an interest, I urge residents to reach out to me. I want to thank our fire chief, who's here today. I was out of the country this past week. There was a major tree that fell in our community. Emails, text messaging didn't stop the communications that we had. And in real time, our city manager is to be lauded, and our fire chief for answering phones, responding, and giving information to residents, and for saving lives. I was at a mayor's conference in Europe, in Greece, in Athens, where democracy started, with Mayor Adams from New York and a score of other mayors throughout the world, talking on anti-Semitism. Anti-anything is something we have to deal with. If they come for the Jews, if they come for the blacks, if they come for, you name it, we have to stand for it. And we have to grow as a community, and we have to live with the process. I, for one, am embarrassed over what happened here today, having the privilege of a behind-the-scene snapshot of what goes on when meetings are closed, to then see what happened this evening. It's so important. If you have any concerns about the sunshine laws or the process or information that it's not transparently or evenly distributed, please speak to our city attorney. We are proud not only of our progressiveness, our transparency, and access to all the meetings, whether somebody opts to go or not to go, and so forth. Decisions, again, have to be made, and they have to be respected. We've had many ribbon cuttings, ladies and gentlemen, coming to our community. This afternoon, I officiated at the Minutemen Press, a young lady by the name of Heidi, I don't have her last name, that is starting out in a new business. I urge you to patronize her. She's a few doors down at 20 North Van Brunt Street from City Hall. She does business cards, printing, websites. She can use the business. We want to thank people who invest in our city, and we want to encourage people to continue to do that. I cut a ribbon at the Green Room, and we have a few more coming up. There are lots of stores and interests, and there are people that are reaching out because they're interested in investing in our city. The Small Business Saturday program began. I want to thank Sam Lee and all the leaders at the Elks for the food insecurity during Thanksgiving. And I finally want to invite everybody to join us with coffee with the mayor this Friday at 11 a.m. I've been doing it nearly for 3 years. I missed 2 Fridays. When I was in Europe, the last 2 Fridays, I did it from a hotel room at a crazy hour. Whatever it is, the communications are important. I missed the tree lighting ceremony, but I was invited by the mayor of Athens and Mr. Adams and others to push a button lighting trees. And we all lit with the admonition that we were going to shed light onto not just the nations, but onto the various communities. Let's take pride that a city named after trees is rooted in the common good, and that we're better than the conduct that we have to go through. Thank you.
Mr. Cobb?
Good evening. I'd just like to thank everybody for coming out and showing their enthusiasm. Now you get a snapshot of what goes on. Now you really get a snapshot of what goes on. You might have heard that, but this is what goes on. As a matter of fact, what I told you were all facts. These are facts. I don't have to make anything up. I call balls and strikes up here. What I said earlier is what happened. So I want you to understand it, and let's be clear. Now you get a sense of that. So this is what happens when you don't participate, you don't come to meetings, you don't stay on top of things. You know, you could either give people power or you could be a part of progress, and progress is inclusive for people. I want to just acknowledge the passing of two people. One is Miss Lula Clay. Lula Clay passed right around the Thanksgiving holiday, and Miss Clay was one of the people that was displaced out of 111 West Street. And even with her being displaced and being down at the hotel, when we delivered meals last Thanksgiving, and myself and my daughter were part of it with Community Baptist Church, Miss Clay was always involved. And this lady was in a motorized chair. She couldn't really walk, but she really got involved and made sure people got fed. So she'll surely be missed. The other one is Marcia Watson, Mr. Leroy Campbell's sister-in-law, who tragically passed away the day before yesterday. And her mother happens to be the mother of Community Baptist Church. So I want to give my condolences to those families. I had the opportunity on November 5th, it was a Saturday, to attend a fire prevention walkthrough with Troop 129 that is housed out of Shiloh Church at 129 West Street, along with Reverend Givens and their Scout Master, Burton Waddy. As the fire chief knows, firefighters Corey Parker and William Doherty gave us a walkthrough of the fire department, and the kids really enjoyed it. So we hopefully we can get more kids to participate and to understand what our fire service does. And one of the things that I did not know that they do is if they come to your house and you don't have a smoke detector, they will put one in your house for you. So, you know, if you know somebody who doesn't have one, I say ring up the chief here or ring up one of the firefighters, and they'll make sure that you get one. So, you know, that's big kudos, but that's some information we need to get out more to the public. So that was something I learned as well. Secondly, myself, along with Councilman Hamer, participated in the street honoring of Dr. Bernard Bell, and we met with the family, and along with Amy Bullock and Colette Thompson, who organized that event, and it was a very successful event. So I give kudos to that family and in that celebration. And that was on November the 12th. And November the 14th, I had the honor of speaking at the dedication or the revealing of the mural at the Women's Rights Center. I happen to know the two young ladies that are from Englewood that are on the mural, happen to know their parents, and Kia Thornton and her daughter, Tony, and I happen to have gone to school with her mother and her father. They were a little ahead of me. So I think that's a great honor. It's a great tribute to all the organizations that put that together for recognizing women's suffrage. But tonight took us back to that again, right? Based on what we had. You know, here we go again, unfortunately, for this town. So those were some of the things that I did. But again, I would encourage you to stay involved, pay attention, and what can you do in your community? And when we make decisions, how do you become part of the decision-making process and be informed about what's going on? So I encourage you to reach out to your elected officials, ask questions. I encourage you to gather the young people, if they're not registered to vote, to register them to vote, and encourage them to participate, to come to the meetings, or look on YouTube at these meetings to see what's going on and have a better understanding, because these things are going to impact you. The decisions that are made here will impact you. And politics, it's locally, and then it goes up from there. So I just want to thank you again, and hopefully I will see you coming out.
God bless.
And you okay there? And participate in your community. This is your community. This community will be what you want it to be if you participate. Thank you, and have a happy holidays if you don't attend the next meeting. Thank you so much.
Mr. Cohen? Yeah, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'll say, it's, in 12 years on the council, there have been nights like this. I remember seeing nights like this, a handful of them, on a number of occasions over the years. And in each of those situations, I hear words like, this is a snapshot of what goes on here. That's what you get to see. And the problem with the snapshot is, you don't really see the full picture. The problem is that being involved in a community and being a part of decisions is not just to come out, and I commend everybody who comes out for particular issues, but it's to come out and be involved on a regular basis when these issues are percolating from day one, not just when they're at the very end and the tail end and coming up for a vote. Every issue that this council deals with, and to me, over the years, has been a source of frustration. Unfortunately, if the one thing, one of many things that this council's not good at is being expeditious. So anything that we do, unfortunately, takes a very, very long time to come to fruition. And whether those are things that people agree with, disagree with, the bottom line is there's a subject of meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, of conversations, of community conversations, of press, of all those kinds of things. And to be able to fully understand those kind of issues and be around and be influential in molding those to making sure that your voice is heard, it's a question of really being a part of that entire process. Some folks tonight came and said that it should be tabled because this is the first time they're hearing of it. This council's been talking about these issues, and I'm not, and that doesn't mean that people are going to agree or disagree with which way things were being talked about, but it's not like this is the first time this issue has come up. And we've seen this over and over with other issues that have brought people out from all communities on all issues. And I think we all have a civic responsibility to really be engaged in our community, especially at the local level. People talk about presidential races and Senate races, but the reality is the races and the elected officials and the governing bodies, which most affect everybody's lives, is what you're looking at right here. This is where it all begins. Tip O'Neill famously said, all politics is local. But the advantage also of local politics is you can actually really know your elected officials. You really can build those relationships and understand folks and have folks understand you. One thing about me over all these years, and after these years, like anything else, when your time is coming to an end in any endeavor in your life, you start to reflect. And one of the things that I've been most proud about in my tenure on this council is how open I've been to meeting with anybody, talking to anybody, and having all conversations with, it doesn't mean all those conversations are things that we agree to. But when folks ask me to sit down and let's talk for hours and hours and hours. You know, taking time away from the family, taking time away from work, taking time away from everything, because once you make a commitment to sit in one of these chairs, you have that responsibility, and I take that very seriously. We might not all agree on every issue, but we should do a much better job all around of understanding each other and how we come to decisions and figuring out a better way to communicate with each other. It's all about, understanding each other's narrative. It's all about understanding where each other comes from, where each other's perspectives are, so that what bothered me most tonight is not a question of whether we disagree or agree on an issue, but whether we're taking the time to understand the perspectives of each other and really understand where each of us are coming from and how we come to those decisions. And to be able to make sure that we listen to one another. That's why I was so adamant about going around our normal policy tonight when an issue like this happened and saying, let's make sure we first hear from everybody. That was the first thing I said. Doesn't mean I'm going to agree with everybody, but let's have those conversations. Let's have that kind of decorum. And I'll tell you, one of the things that bothered me, just, from my own narrative here, is that you had one individual come up here and start saying things about anti-Zionists and anti-Semites and all this and all kinds of things against the Jewish community up here. We need to all respect each other. We need to all make sure that comments about hate or about hating anybody on any issue are beyond the pale. And that together we make sure that that's communicated, that we have no tolerance for that against any person, against any persuasion, against any religion, against anybody. Because if we can't do that, if we can't make sure that this body in this room is understood to say we will not tolerate hate of any sort, then what the hell are we doing? So, I remember, well, not remember, it's only 2 days ago, on Sunday, because the narrative that, let's say, the Jewish community has here, or at least my narrative, I'll speak to myself, and from what the comments of the mayor earlier, when you look at, from the Jewish communal perspective, hearing some of those comments tonight, there was a rally in front of the Barclays Center on Sunday with a group of folks yelling and screaming that Hitler should have finished the job. They were saying Hitler got it right. That's what I'm seeing. And when I hear somebody saying, and it was only one individual saying those kind of things here tonight, who's said things like that before, that person, or not that person, but those kind of comments should be understood to have no place in our society. And we should all understand what are the red lines for each of our communities. Because each of our communities have red lines of things that are just not funny, that are just not tolerable. And we should respect each other in that way. But to do that, we first have to take the time to sit down with each other and understand each other better, and understand what those lines are. And make sure that whatever decisions we make, you might not agree with them, but at least you know that they were made in an appropriate and proper fashion. When we talk about, once again, about a snapshot, I look at, what was here tonight, and yes, it does bother me that I do believe that there were a plethora of misrepresentations made, but the reality is the only way we stop that, the only way that folks in the audience here tonight are going to ever know whether something is a misrepresentation or not is by coming to every meeting and calling us to task, not just when there's an issue that happens to be hotbed for that minute, but by seeing how we act every day, by seeing how we act at every council meeting, by picking up the phone You know, when you look on the city website for all these years, my personal cell phone is on that website. It's always been. Because if I can't let my neighbors in a town this size that I represent know that they can reach me as their neighbor, then what am I doing? I'm not hiding. But we need to take advantage of those things and not just assume we know what other people are saying. Have the conversations. Understand. Because by understanding each other's narratives, we don't get to a place where we were tonight. So I hope and pray that, we have like I said, we have a lot of other issues that we're going to have to deal with. We've had issues, where we've been negotiating or debating about community center, about affordable housing. There are so many issues that we need to come together on. And I hope and pray that we can all collectively, each of us, every single person here, including myself, that we can do a better job at coming together, understanding each other better, listening to each other better, and coming up with solutions that make our city better. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Maron.
Okay, as Michael said, since we didn't give comments at our last meeting, some of this is old, I'll try to be brief. Veterans Day Parade, thank you to Mayor Wilds for conducting a moving and successful ceremony. Bergen Pack on its amazing renovation to our theater. This is truly a jewel in our community. Dr. Bernard Bell Way, the ceremony was touching, well-attended, well-deserved. His talents brought joy to all around him. And I remember seeing him, as a 16-year-old and hearing him. And he was an extraordinary musician, and we're very lucky to can call him a product of Englewood. The beautiful mural on Palisade Avenue at the Women's Information Center. It's beautiful. I saw it for the first time and I was amazed. I'm so glad we went ahead with that project, and I'm very proud of it. Congratulations to the Englewood Historical Society, who reached its primary goal of raising funds to move Englewood House to Eleanor Harvey Park. Hopefully, we residents of Englewood will continue to donate funds to complete this exciting project, which will be a facility for all of us to meet in, and it's going to be a beautiful project. Congratulations to Lisa Wisowski, our newly elected 2nd Ward Councilwoman, and Kevin Wilson, our newly elected 4th Ward Councilman. I look forward to working with them both. Condolences to the family of our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Ronell Cook, who we tragically lost. Condolences to the family of Frank Luciano, a special person who contributed much to the people of Bergen County. And last but not least, thank you, Bob Hoffman, saving grants from expiration. Big thank you to our terrific city manager. And good night to all of you. I'm glad you were here.
Mr. Hamer?
Just want to thank everyone for being a part of this meeting tonight. You got to see some sausage making, and it wasn't particularly pretty, and it didn't smell well either. But thank you for being here. It's important that you participate. COVID is not over. In fact, it and other bugs are surging again. Protect yourselves, protect your families, protect your neighbors. A mask makes a difference. Please use it. I wish everyone a wonderful holiday. Hope you had great Thanksgivings, and the upcoming holidays. I hope that you celebrate them and enjoy your families and friends. Take good care of yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. First off, I hope everyone had a happy Thanksgiving. And congratulations to the people who won their recent elections, Kevin Wilson and Lisa Wisowski. And Lisa was the ward for ward biggest vote getter, so a special congratulations to her and to our county representatives as well, James Tedesco, Mary Amoroso, Jermaine Ortiz, and Thomas Sullivan, and I doubt they're watching tonight, but they're very important in how the city functions as well, so we'll certainly be using them as a resource for services that we need from the county. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I know for many of you, it was a very frustrating meeting, and I'm sorry you feel that way. I tried very, very hard not to embarrass anyone, either on the council or in the public. There's some very strong questions asked about people's performance and things like that, and obviously, legally, we can't discuss that, and it's not even appropriate in a public forum like this. One gentleman in the public did go over the timeline here, going back to 2020, prior to when I was on the council. So you can see this has been an issue for discussion for a very, very long time. There has been some insinuation that the Open Public Meetings Act was not followed. To my knowledge, it was followed to the utmost letter of the law, to the point that I think we were, extremely, extremely transparent. Things published throughout the state as to what the council is doing and what actions we intend to take. So there's never, ever a moment in time where anyone was kept in the dark, and that's something that I felt very, very strongly about all year. And if anyone sees any exceptions to that, please bring it to my attention. If you don't trust me to deal with it, the city manager or the city attorney, or take it higher to someone in the county or the state. But these are things that I take extremely seriously, and there was certainly nothing even remotely improper done. We've been very, very transparent with it. I want to wish everyone the happiest and healthy holidays with whatever they celebrate, and best wishes for a Happy New Year. We will have one more meeting December 20th to finish up some resolutions for the year and some ordinances, and to honor our outgoing council people as well. So I encourage everyone to attend that meeting as well. Thank you very much. Mr. Hoffman?
Thank you, Council President. I'd also like to congratulate our council members-elect, Kevin Wilson and Lisa Wasowski. I look forward to working with them to serve the needs of all of our residents and businesses here in the city of Englewood over the next 4 years. And as we begin our transition towards 2023, I would also like to take this opportunity to thank council members Cohen and Hamer for their years of dedicated service to the citizens of Englewood. I'd also like to add that during our brief time together, I've come to appreciate the wisdom and thoughtfulness that both of you have brought to the table, and for the counsel that you have given me over the last couple of months. So thank you very much to both of you for that. Tonight there were several items on the agenda that were very important to the city, and I want to thank the City Council for passing 2 resolutions tonight. One resolution was to order 2 electric garbage trucks. So we received a grant from the state DEP for $1.3 million. And we had a timeline. We had to get this done before the end of the year. And we were able to evaluate trucks, and we were able to make a good selection. And one of the things that really excited me about this process was that it was a team effort. And I want to make sure that our elected officials and all of the people here tonight and that might be watching know that Ray Romney, Garfield Thompson, Lincoln Taggart, Reggie Austin, and Godfrey Robley participated in the project. These gentlemen drive our sanitation trucks. They test drove 2 electric garbage trucks. They test drove a Mack truck, and they test drove a BYD truck. And they brought their years of experience and knowledge of Englewood to the table, and they helped the city make a better decision, a decision that's going to have an impact over the next 20 years. But it was truly a team effort, and I'm excited about the next 16 to 18 months when we finally do take delivery of those vehicles. And they were very, very helpful, and they were just great in looking at the evaluation process. We take a lot of things for granted here in Englewood. You know, Englewood is a place where history is made, whether it's in the movie industry, whether it's theater or the movies. The PAC just reopened, and you know it looks wonderful on the inside, and it has great shows. Englewood is also the location where our nation's World War I monument is being made. There are several articles about this in the paper, but we do not have a World War I monument, a United States World War I monument in Washington, D.C., but it's being made here, and it will be unveiled in Washington, D.C. in September of 2024. And that monument's going to be 58 feet long, 12 feet high, and it's going to have 38 figures that are now being sculpted. And it's being sculpted on South Van Brunt Street, and it's amazing. So if you have the opportunity, Google the World War I monument. Google it's Mr. Howard is the sculptor, or look at the Smithsonian. But it's amazing. Two other things about history in Englewood. Englewood was the place where on November 10th, 1951, the first customer dial long-distance telephone service was made. Then Mayor Leslie Deming called Alameda, California Mayor Frank Osborne without operator assistance, and that call was placed from our city hall. And so that was the first time a long-distance call was made without operator assistance. So I'd like to also wish everybody a very happy holiday season. I wish you all health and happiness, and I look forward to the best of things to come in the future. So thank you very much, Council President.
Thank you. And Mayor Greenberg reenacted the 25th anniversary of that call in 1976.
Okay.
All right, so we'll now open the public session. The meeting is open to the public, and any member of the public wishing to speak is asked to come to the mic. Please give your name and address, and you have 2 minutes to speak.
Good evening. My name is Horace Rockbear, 51 West Hamilton Avenue, Englewood, New Jersey. A little advice to you. Hearing and actually listening is two different things.
Agreed.
So you listen, not just hear. I want to just pass out these documents. Are we all on the same page?
Please give it to the city clerk. She'll record it and send it out to us. Thanks.
This document is dated August 13, 2001 by the State of New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, Historic Preservation Office. And it simply states the Liberty School, 12 Tenderfly Road, Block 613, Lot 13, Englewood City, Bergen County, is eligible for listing on the National Registry of Historic Places. Now, this is 21 years later. It was easy that we got the Taylor Bliss School designated. We got money to move that. This is the center of town. Why haven't this been designated a historic site 21 years ago? I think most residents haven't ever seen this document. I have a problem that history is valuable to our children. It's valuable to the future. And Mr. Hoffman just used the same word, history. What are we doing with the school? First, before we do anything, I would like you guys to designate this a historic site. It's been 21 years in the making. It's time we do this and do it right. Before we put any RFP or write any RFP or have bids or whatever, designate this site as the center town, as an historic site, please. One of the other things is, I leave in documents here. Is anybody interested to know the historic value of it?
Okay.
It's right there.
Thank you. I ask you to sum up, Horace.
Excuse me?
Can you sum up, please?
No, this is a total different comment. I know every person that is on this city council, and I've known you guys over the years. I've walked, I've talked, I've agreed, I've disagreed with you guys. If this happened where one person would delete it or two people would delete it from making a decision, this is not progress for this town. That has me not disappointed, it has me disgusted by it. All right, and for Mr. Hoffman to reach out to Mr. Cobb and let him know what's going on, it's wrong, it's simple wrong. We put all of you guys to make an educated decision that represents Englewood, not up the hill, not down the hill, not the right side, not the left side, not north, whatever. We need to do it and do it right. Please, from this day forward, I think Mr. Hoffman is doing a great job by actually reaching out to people. And he has been doing a great job since he's been here. So thank you, Mr. Hoffman. But please, let's do this right. I don't want to come and attack people here. I did that in the past, and it did not sound good. And I do not want to do that moving forward. We're all educated. We're all here for a reason. We all share a town together. Let's pretend that we all exist here together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, City Council and members of the community. My name is Shaka Lumumba. My wife Malika Lumumba. We own a property at 255 Lafayette Place in Englewood, New Jersey. Okay. My name is Shaka Lumumba. We own a property at 255 Lafayette Place in Englewood, New Jersey. This is my wife, Malika Lumumba. On November the 23rd, 2020, we was getting an electrical inspection. And I asked the inspector, Pat, if everything passed of the apartments, could we get a sign off? He said he couldn't make that decision. He had to call somebody at the city. He made a phone call, and when he called somebody at the building department and asked the other inspector if we could get the permits or the stickers, the person on the other end of the phone told him, not to give me nothing. I am nothing but a slumlord. And don't give me anything. Don't prove nothing. No stickers, no nothing. In which I didn't get anything. So I want to know what kind of city I invested in, and my family invested a lot of time, energy, monies, and funds, that someone that doesn't even know me could call me a slumlord. I take that as a racist, derogatory name, biased, unfair, inappropriate, and unprofessional, to say the least. Okay? I spoke to Mr. Cobbs. I spoke to Mr. Hoffman. I spoke to Walter. I spoke to Mr. Heimer briefly. I want to know, what kind of city is this that tolerates this? Why am I a slumlord where this man doesn't know me? All he know is my property is in the 4th Ward. I guess that's on the other side of the railroad track. And I want to know what you're going to do about it.
All right. Thank you. People speak and then we address their issues at the end. Thank you. No, after everyone's spoken. Thank you.
You want to say something?
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Council. Pete Jansen, 589 Ridgeland Terrace. I would first like to thank Wayne Hamer for his years of service on the council. And secondly, I'd like to thank Michael Cohen for his years of service and being my councilman. He always picked up the phone when I called. During today's meeting, a comment was made that the cannabis draft would be given to the incoming council people. They're not officially council people yet, so doesn't it follow that the public should also have access at this time? That's a question for the end. And if not, at what point will the public get a copy prior to the vote? And I would ask that the council, before voting on anything related to cannabis, to get a presentation that's entitled Cannabis Legislation, Knowing the Facts. This presentation should be done before the council, at a council meeting and the public. It's an overview of the legislation that focuses on understanding today's cannabis, the ripple effects as evidenced in other states, and understanding the implications on the adolescent brain and overall safety and well-being. This requested, very informative presentation is conducted in partnership with our own Englewood Health, Bergen County Prevention Coalition, the Center for Alcohol and Drug Resources, which is a program of the Children's Aid and Family Services, and the Englewood Municipal Alliance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ade Rasul. I'm Judge Aisha Rasul's husband. I live 328 West Englewood Avenue. And I just wanted to make a few comments if I can. Number one, I work during the evening, and that's one of the reasons why it's probably the first time many of you have seen me in the council meeting. But today I felt obligated to leave my job, put my sneakers on, and come here and speak to you. My wife had been a judge here for quite some time. She's well known in the community. And as you can see, I'm being very objective. I'm not being subjective. I love her dearly, that's subjective. But at the same time, I just wanted to share a few concerns with you. One of the council members talked about how we need to listen to each other. And yelling and screaming don't allow us to listen, but at the same time, as elected officials, you should see through the yelling and screaming. People are yelling and screaming because they're unhappy, they're disappointed. So you should be objective enough in your job to see through the yelling and screaming and hear the issue. They're frustrated. Nobody wants to have a constituency that's frustrated, that have to resort to yelling and screaming in order to be heard. So I'm not yelling and screaming, so I hope I can be heard. First of all, I want to say that judgeship, this job, I've been with my wife for 42 years, and I've seen her grow in a lot of legal jobs, whether it was from New York City to here to Englewood. And she's always been committed to work for the people. Okay, she could have had plenty of opportunities to do legal work other places that would compensate her wellly, but she's always sacrificed and made the decision not for the money, but for the love and the respect of the people. And anybody who knows her can attest to that. I'm kind of surprised that you have a person who's, you know, the judgeship is 24 hours a day. I live with her. The phone is always ringing. And she's always answering the phone, whether she has one eye open and one eye closed. She's always stepped to the phone and do her duty. And at the same time, you know, I work for an agency, really, I'm the executive director of a city agency, and I have over 50 employees. And I've never heard of anyone being not reappointed or not being certified to work continuously for me without some type of evaluation. You know, we were afraid that our city was going to turn into politics. That's what we're afraid of. That's why there's a lot of yelling and there's a lot of screaming, because too much politics going on around here. And I think that if we truly say we serve the people, then we should serve the best interests of the people and put our politics aside. And apparently, her not being reinstated to the judgeship only points clearly to politics, because no one can present a clear argument and evaluation as to why and how she's not doing her job and why she has not been able to do her job. She's been, again, reinstated to the judgeship, I believe it's about 1.5 years. No time during that time has she ever been approached through any human service process in terms of her inability to do her job. Now, if I was to do that in New York City, the state would have me under charges, because you can't illegally dismiss someone that's performing well in their job when the vacancy is available. So I'm a little bit confused. I hope when y'all have some discussion over making that decision that you review the facts in regards to why she didn't meet the criteria that you want in terms of the judgeship, and then prior to that, why criticisms in terms of her job was not addressed by her. Any HR management system allows people to have a fair hearing. Now, if Englewood does something different, then that's why you hear the yelling and the screaming, because people feel it's unjust. And if you stand on the decision, or you make a decision, pardon me, then you should stand on that decision. And you should stand on it with facts, evidence, support, and not subjective decision-making. My last comment is, you know, my grandmother always told me that if a job ain't broken, then why try to fix it? So I don't understand why we trying to fix something that's not broken, and that anyone, average person that lives in Englewood, can declare that she's been doing her job, she's been on her job, and we need to give a person like that respect and honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Melvina Cobb, 113 Maryland Court, so I got here a little bit late. I'm a little surprised when actually you, the mayor, said that you were surprised and a little disappointed at how this meeting played out tonight. But this has been building in this community a long time. I say that because while I respect, or at least I heard, Ms. Marin, what you said about living in Englewood and having your kids go to public school, well, I did too. My father graduated from Dwight Morrow, I graduated from Dwight Morrow, my kids graduated from Dwight Morrow, so I've been here a long time. I grew up in this town when you knew the cops and they knew you, and not because you were a bad kid, and not because you got in trouble, because the police lived in the community, and you went to school with their kids, and you knew them by name. And if they saw you doing something that perhaps you shouldn't do, they call your parents. I walk, and anybody knows this, I walk a lot, probably about 5 miles a day. So I see a lot of people, and I talk to a lot of people. And I have to say, I've heard things that you said that wasn't public information. But the people that told me that, I know are your friends. So you can't do things in the cloak of darkness and think that it doesn't get out, and that people are not going to now formulate their own opinions, because I can't help but question whether or not this was a plan, well orchestrated to the point that you hope nobody would find out. Now you can shake your head, but I'm telling you the truth. So I don't necessarily, I think you said to my husband a few months ago, he got his information on the corner. So you know what? I got my information on the corner because I walk every day. I think that to not appoint a judge without listening to the community, someone here could have said, okay, let's table this. Because when you have a police force that is predominantly white, and you get rid of a judge who represents a person of color, where do the people of color in this town think they're going to get justice? Go and hire 5 or 6 African-American police officers from Patterson does not make this a diverse police force, because diversity is throughout the ranks. So when the top ranks of this police department are white, there's no Hispanics and no black people. I've had Englewood police pull my son over in front of our own house because there were car thefts in the neighborhood. My son graduated from here, he's college educated, he has a job. Why do you think he's stealing cars? And that didn't happen once, that happened twice. And I told my husband, if it happens again, I'm coming to the council, because my son is not going to be a hashtag rest in peace. You need to look at and listen to the people of the community. So when you say, Michael Cohen, well, it's a snapshot, it is a snapshot, but the truth is, you're not going to discuss personnel issues in public. So people only can believe what they hear here. Now, should people come to council meetings more often? They probably should. But the optics of this are not good. So you want people to have faith in a police department. You want people to have faith in the whole judicial process. But what happens in most towns when the government doesn't look like the people it serves? It's a problem. So it's you know, I'm saddened because this is where I chose to live. This is where I chose to bring my family up. And this is not the Englewood that I grew up in. And when I tell you I walk every day and I walk by certain police officers at certain places, they don't even speak. That's not community policing, by the way. I know them when I see them, and I know they know me. They probably don't know who I am, but they have to recognize me because I see them in the same place all the time. If you want to ingratiate yourself and get to know the people in the community, then you have to interact with them. And when your only interaction with the police is when you're arresting someone, you're doing nothing to quell a potential problem. So I am saddened today to think that what went on here is okay with everyone on the council, with the exception of Councilman Hamer and Councilman Cobb, who did not vote for this. Because I'd like to think that there is some compassion and the ability to see how this looks, because the optics are not good. And if you think, you know, and this is it, you know, people said, hey, come election time, you know, and that's probably the truth. Because Michelle Obama once said, when they go high, we go low. No, when they go low, we go high. Oprah said, when they go low, we go to the polls. So you should all remember that. Thank you.
Trustee, 33 Florence Street. I'll say a few things. You know, today it's not good. You know, Councilman Cohen, I want to apologize myself to you. If anybody said anything that was racist, it was out of line. I would say that because I'm not one for that, and I know a lot of people here are not either. So one person can't speak to everybody here, and I would say that. The next thing is, you know, everybody was shocked by this judge being removed. I mean, and nobody really knew it. I know you said it's been talked over and over again. And I for one, believe in people from Englewood policing Englewood. My son is on the Englewood Fire Department. This is boss right here, Jonathan Trust. My son had a problem becoming a firefighter. Had to get right down to the last bit. Okay, to lawsuits, says this was gonna happen right here again. I mean, but he's now a firefighter. And so Englewood is where I pay my taxes, my wife and I, we enjoy Englewood. We love Englewood. You know what I mean? That's where we wanna be. And people have to come together, and we all have to come together and figure this out. Because when one person hates, then that triggers the whole thing. So this thing kinda got out of line. Because we're talking about one issue, and this is going to a hate issue. And we can't do that. We have to stick to the facts and what the people want. And today, the people spoke. But again, we weren't heard. Now, because it didn't happen. Now, there's gotta be a reason why this lady is not, and this is a sitting judge. This is somebody, so if she did something wrong, we'd like to know that. Because here, I told you, I went upside her. I went upside her and I was missing paperwork, didn't have an insurance, had lapsed, I didn't know it, okay? And she said, listen, I gotta uphold the law. So you know what she did? She took my license for the time, legally, that it was supposed to be taken because I was driving without insurance, and I didn't know it. So I showed her the papers, she said, I understand that, but I still have to do what I have to do. I respected it and accepted it, okay? So, and I know her. So standing in front of her, she said, listen, would you like me to oversee this case because it might be biased? I said, no, I'll do that. And she still suspended my license, okay? And this is the person you are gonna tell me about, because I was there. And she said, I'm sorry, Mr. Trustee, but this is what I gotta do. And I accepted it, because that's her job. And she's doing it. She did it with me, so I'm quite sure she'd do it with anybody else. And then she's from Englewood. See, this is why everybody who was here and everybody now feels the same way I do. She's from Englewood. My son is from Englewood. These things have to be set aside, okay, because that's what it is. He went to the Navy for 4 years, and he came out. He's a medic. He came out to get his dream job, which he loved, and they wouldn't give it to him. He had to get an attorney. It was a whole big deal, okay? But he got the job, and he told me, Daddy, I don't want to sue them. I don't want to sue them, because this is my job. I just want to leave everything alone. And that's what he did. So this is what we want to talk about her right now, and why she's gone. She's going to be gone. And this is somebody's job. Everybody needs their job. If you're doing your job, why would you be terminated? If you're doing your job, why would you be terminated? So I have a problem with that. And again, Councilman Cohen, I apologize myself personally and anybody else that was offended here by what was said today, because there was tempers flared. And this is what happens when people think they've been slighted. But hate is not where we want to be. We want to solve problems. So this is a problem we're going to have to solve, because this may come up again. You know, and Councilman Hamer, I love you, man. Appreciate everything you've done.
Thank you, Mr. Trustee. All right, so we're going to close the public session now. So for Mr. Ragbeer, obviously I don't know if he's still here, there was a meeting about the Liberty School, which I know you attended. So this is something certainly that we'll consider in the process going forward. Mr. Hoffman, the second speaker, Mr. Raimondo, said he had spoken to you. Is there any, I know this sounds like a sensitive issue. Is there anything that can be discussed in the public?
No, if this is 255 Lafayette Avenue. No, Mr. The owner is in the process of getting some permits. That's one issue, and that is running smoothly. But there has been a request for an investigation, and that is basically in process. And you can't talk about personnel issues in public, but I can just say that it's been reported. There has been some preliminary work done on what has been reported to see if it can be verified, and there'll be some discussions with our council about that.
Thanks. And Mr. Bailey, so Mr. Jansen brings up a good point in terms of when does a draft ordinance become a public document? Is it a public document since we spoke about it tonight now?
No, it's still a deliberative document, and I need to check. An incoming elected official, I don't know definitively the answer if they're entitled to draft documents as opposed to the general public.
Okay,
But
so
I got to look at that.
Yancey, if you please don't release this until we hear from Bill whether it can be sent privileged to the incoming council people, or if we're going to choose to make this completely public. All right. So thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Jansen. All right. So we're actually going to go into closed session now to discuss some issues. So if you can read the resolution.
Sure.
And we will be going back into public session to vote on some resolutions.
Be it resolved that by the governing body of the City of Englewood that it meet in closed session pursuant to subsection 7 and 8 to discuss litigation, contract negotiations, personnel matters, and matters within the attorney-client privilege, and be it further resolved that discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public upon taking final action thereon, provided it does not constitute an undue invasion of privacy or violate the attorney-client privilege. And be it further resolved that the council will return to open session to consider resolution 322, which pertains to authorizing a jurisdictional agreement with the NJDOT for Jones Road over Route 4 project. What that is it sets forth the maintenance responsibilities as between the city and the DOT. The DOT would be responsible for Route 4 and the access roads. The city would be responsible for its roads. And also, Resolution 323 to authorize project amendments for community development block grant funding.
Okay. All right, do I have a motion to go into closed session? Judy, say motion. Judy, just say so moved.
So moved.
I second. Anyone opposed? No? Okay, so we're in closed session. Thank you.